Hey, so the other day I was working with one of my customers and I was discussing with them about the work that they have in the company. We were going through what is the vision for the company, the product, what is the vision, what are the strategic goals, and what are the different projects that they have, and also the different KPIs that they have set. The work was actually pretty well done. There was quite clear strategies, quite clear vision. Let's say that the strategies maybe could be a little bit more actionable. They were relatively high level. This is something that happens usually with companies because when the strategies are high level makes the problem that it might be difficult for people to really prioritize against those strategies. And then they have kind of two levels, more like initiatives and then projects, because not all the projects, sometimes the projects are a group around a specific initiative. So that is, initiative is a little bit higher level, and then there are several projects that are contributing to that initiative. And in some cases, there's just individual projects that contribute directly to the overarching strategy. And then separately, they have several KPIs, which was interesting because one of the first exercises that I wanted to do with them was sit down and look at the linkage between the strategies, the projects, and the initiatives, and then the KPIs. Because this is one of the problems that I've seen pretty much in all the companies is what is that relationship and how you are building your work, that you have been setting certain KPIs, and are you doing work really to promote those strategies or those projects to move forward. Okay, so I want to share this with you just to see it very quickly. They have set a vision. Obviously, I cannot share what is their vision or the company, but the idea is that they have a vision. They have three strategies. They have more projects and initiatives that I put here, but I just simplify it so it's a bit easier to read. In reality, this one was like twice as wide, so probably there was twice as many projects and probably twice as many initiatives, but there was three main strategies. And some of the initiatives have several projects, as you can see here. Some of the initiatives have maybe just one project or two, and then some projects were directly linked to a strategy. But then there were some projects which I could not link, or we could not link. I was just guiding her through this work or this process, and we couldn't link these projects directly to any of the strategies. And that's something that, well, we are doing things that, yes, they are important, but they are not contributing to this. So how important are they? And do they have to be there? There might be maintenance work in some cases, and in that case, it might be justified. But if they're important, but they're not linked to an existing strategy, either the strategic work is not properly done, because they are important that they had to be there, or maybe they are not that important, and they shouldn't be there if they are not promoting that strategic work. And if their maintenance is a completely different story, they should still be there. And sometimes typically I put the bucket of maintenance here as well. But in this case, if I recall correctly, these were not linked to any strategic goals or to the maintenance. And then there is the different KPIs. Here there are 5 KPIs defined in the company, which is pretty normal. I mean, in some cases there's more, sometimes there can be 30, 40, and then one starts to wonder how important are all those KPIs. There might be KPIs that are important, but they might not have to be in the same level of definition. And then we were linking which projects were supporting the KPIs, so the different KPIs, and we put one line for the ones that we consider that they're going to improve the KPI, and we were trying to organize, which KPI they promote most to put it on the top. And then if we put a dotted line, is that, well, this marginally will improve this KPI. And this kind of was one of the interesting factors, because we were doing this work like a couple of weeks ago, and you see that, this first KPI is relatively well supported. We have quite many projects that are supporting this. It might not be that we are able to, I mean, if we are able to close off, then we might be able to hit the KPI. So seems to be in good place. The second KPI seems to be again in the same place. We're having activities that are improving that KPI. For the third KPI, there's only one. That could be a problem because it depends on the KPI. If it's a KPI that it's, an organic KPI that has to be growing from year to year, might be okay to just have that one project. Let's say that is marketing and we want to increase from the people that we are reaching out, and we want to increase at 10%, and that project that we have in marketing is actually enough to grow it. That might be enough. But if it's a big project and it's a brand new KPI, if it's a brand new KPI of a new type of work, it might be very difficult to hit it if we only have one initiative and one project that are really supporting this KPI. So that was one of those that is like, well, I'm not sure how realistic it's going to be to reach out this KPI. And that was, of course, my understanding. I don't have the visibility to the KPIs and how they are achieving them at this point. And then there was 2 KPIs where realistically the projects that they have in the current roadmap, actually they were not contributing to those KPIs. In some cases, this could be okay if this is a KPI of, well, we need to reach this many amount of users, and we think that just because of organic growth, we are going to do that. But then it will be related to some of the projects, most likely. But if there are KPIs, like in some cases there are, that they are for brand new projects or new market entries, if you don't have the work to support those KPIs, the reality is that these KPIs are most likely not gonna be achieved. So what we are now trying to do and work forward in the future, and I don't have that here, is just like, okay, so how the work and the plans that you are doing now for next year, how do they link? And yes, of course, sometimes those KPIs come from corporate and then you just had to take them. But sometimes you might not have the budget to really affect them. And this brings you that visibility. This is basically a KPI tree. It's just basic visualization. I've done this in the past and I had not used like a visualization of KPI trees, but I've used something like Notion and used then tags and use maybe something like epics that you can use in Jira, where you can then bundle things so you can see how the work propagates and how KPIs can be affected. The good thing with KPI trees is that you can make it visual. So it's very easy then to go to your director, your VP, your C-level person, whoever you're reporting to, or if you are a C-level person, to talk with the rest of your executive team and say that, hey, this is the current situation. We are working towards these projects. We are working towards these strategies, but we are going to be able to hit these KPIs, especially when we are now starting Q4. But those KPIs, well, depends on where's the situation. If you can report them, we might be okay, but we are not going to be able to affect them massively this year because we really had not put any effort. And if in next years you had to do it, you have to plan accordingly. You have to see how you are going to create those projects that are going to support those KPIs. Otherwise, you are creating plans that are unrealistic. And this is why I like this kind of visualization. It helps you understand how your work is actually going to link to all the way down to your goals, going through the strategy, going through the projects, initiatives, and those goals that you have for all the individual KPIs that you have defined or that the company has defined. So as a summary, the good thing of this is that it helps you understand better which situation you are, how your strategic work is linked to your execution, and actually link to the goals that you have as a company, as a business, whatnot. And it helps you to adapt whether do you need projects to really support those KPIs, whether some projects that you're doing are actually not linked to any work that is relevant. And finally, when you are planning for next year, you can come up with a plan and from the beginning have a clear understanding of what is the relationship between the work that we are planning and the strategies that we have, and how are we going to be able to affect these goals. If this is something that is interesting for you, I have put together a playbook that explains how to do this in practice. You can go and check it out in the description down below, because it will help you to really establish and define all the processes for you and your teams to really start driving strategic alignment in your company, which is basically what this is. Basically, what you're looking for is strategic alignment. If you want to see how I actually have done this work in practice, I record a series of videos where I actually review the roadmaps, the projects that some companies have in their public roadmaps, and how it's linked to the strategies that they have. So you can find this playlist up here. See you on the next one.